Welcome to Common Ground with SMK Medical, the podcast that aims to provide a platform for open and informative discussions on the common issues in the healthcare industry. Today, we have a special guest joining us, Dr. Harris, a board-certified family medicine physician and the owner of Harris Family Health, a direct-to-primary care clinic in her hometown of Flint, Michigan. Dr. Harris graduated from Georgetown University School of Medicine and completed her family medicine residency at the University of Illinois in Chicago. Dr. Harris is a passionate advocate for improving health literacy and access to healthcare services. Dr. Harris is known for her impactful work with the BLK Family Doc platform and the Flint Health Hub newsletter. Additionally, she is deeply involved in public health and health advocacy efforts within various organizations. In this episode, we are privileged to have Dr. Harris share insights on crucial healthcare topics such as health literacy, health access, and health disparities. This discussion promises to provide valuable information that you can apply to your work in the healthcare industry. If you do not know, Common Ground with SMK Medical features exclusive interviews with top healthcare executives and experts giving you insights into their expertise and experiences in their field. Our goal is to keep you ahead of the curve and up to date with insightful discussions on all things healthcare. But before I introduce Dr. Harris, I would be remiss without asking you to hit that subscribe button and hit that like button if you enjoy our podcast. So without further ado, let's dive into this enlightening conversation. Welcome, Dr. Harris. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I appreciate this.
Hey, thank you for coming on Common Ground with SMK Medical, the podcast that talks about all things healthcare. And I saw you on LinkedIn, and I saw all the great work you were doing for the community, and I said, hey, I got to get Dr. Harris on this platform because she is really changing the way that we view healthcare. So as I always start off, I do this introduction, but it really doesn't hold a candle to your years of expertise, all the certification and degrees you have behind your name. So could you tell us who Dr. Harris really is?
Yeah, no, I definitely can shine a little bit more light on that short bio that you gave. So at base, Dr. Asia Harris. I am from Flint, Michigan. I am currently a family doctor working here in Flint at my own clinic, Harris Family Health. So now that's my current state, but how I got there is a little more interesting as far as I grew up in Flint. Felt that my community was really supporting me as far as striving for bigger dreams. I'm a science and math kind of nerd that went to pursue a chemical engineering degree at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. But during that time, I felt like I had more passion for direct patient care versus health technology. And so after spending a summer in New Orleans working for Shell Oil Company, I decided that engineering wasn't quite my style and that I wanted to pursue medicine. So that's how I went to Georgetown University for medical school and fell in love with family medicine and eventually finished a residency in Chicago before fully coming back home and then eventually starting my own clinic, Harris Family Health.
That's amazing. You totally pivoted. I mean, that's I was not aware of that. It's so wow. So you realize you wanted to have that patient care and that patient engagement. What was that like when that light bulb clicked on it? Hey, you know what? I think I can do this, and I'm gonna do this.
I wouldn't say that I had the most confidence that I can and will do it. I'll say I was more afraid to settle on something that I didn't want to do. I had fell in love with engineering kind of in high school as far as we have a big engineering university here in Flint. And I had done programs there, and math and science just was that way for me to have that financial security. And everyone's like engineering. And so I did that. I went to Michigan and studied it and had that spark as far as wanting to do healthcare. And so I was going to do pharmaceuticals or health technology. I was going to build stuff, create stuff for the health industry and health system. But as I trained more in engineering and learned more about it, and it's a beautiful career. Like my friends that are still engineers are doing amazing things. I'm excited about what they're doing. But I just couldn't see myself doing that for multiple years. And it didn't seem like a great avenue to pursue if I was only going to be in engineering for a couple of years before I was like, what's the next step? And so I had to really self-reflect on what I want to do. And the patient care aspect of the health industry was really exciting and interesting to me. And my Some of that I spent in New Orleans. I actually volunteered in an HIV and AIDS transition home.
Wow.
And really loved that community of patients and the connection I was able to have in this kind of world where there's a lot of stigma. I was young and just still trying to figure out, who I was and what I was doing with my career. And they really helped me really flourish in that area as far as I want to talk to patients. I want to care for them. I want to help them. I want to see them thrive. And that idea is what kind of led me to pursue medicine. It pushed me out of engineering, saying, if anything, I can go back to being an engineer. Like, I was really good at it.
Wow.
I had some great experiences, some great connections, some great friends that were doing it. So it's a good backup plan when I first was pursuing medicine. But the excitement I had as far as potentially being a doctor and caring for my community, just really motivated me. I didn't know I didn't know if it was gonna work out. Medical school is not easy to get into, but I got in. I went through it. I was successful in graduating from Georgetown. And eventually I fell in love with family medicine, which is a very community-based specialty. And so everything that I want to do regarding helping my community, being on the ground, being a resource, being an advocate, family medicine was that area. And once I found that, I knew, this is exactly what I want to do. Like, I definitely want to be a doctor at that point. But family medicine, it just opened my eyes to the beauty of being a doctor and caring for my community.
Wow. That's a powerful story. that is a powerful story. And so, by way of Georgetown, we're blessed to have you as a provider. And for the viewers that don't know, what is a family physician? What does that mean?
So family physicians do everything and can do everything as far as taking care of adults, taking care of children, delivering babies, doing public health work, doing health policy work. Some family physicians do surgeries. Some family physicians do global health work.
Wow.
Some people are working in the hospital. Some people are working on clinics. Some people are working more rural. Some people are working out of mobile health clinics. Like, family medicine is like the all-purpose specialty of medicine, where everything and anything you think about that's happening in medicine, there could potentially be a family physician that's doing it. So in my mind of kind of indecisiveness, family medicine is perfect for me because I never fell in love with any specific organ or any specific area. So being able to say I can do a lot of things just really excited me. So family medicine, if anyone's interested in medicine, is a great specialty because it's head to toe problems from your brain, neurology to your feet, whatever it may be, all the organs in between. And I get to deliver babies if I really wanted to, but care for people in all these different diverse settings. So it always excites me about all the things that different family medicine doctors are doing. I'm doing what I'm doing right now, but who knows what I'm going to be doing in 5 years. Family medicine is just that diverse and that innovative to be able to be something that you can do at all settings and all chapters of your life.
Wow. You opened my eyes, and I didn't know, right? I'm a registered nurse, but when I think of family medicine providers, you just think of them in a clinic, but you just educated us, not only public health, general surgery, whatever it is, from delivering babies. So you've educated me, and I'm sure you've educated the audience. As you settled into your specialty of family health, it sounds like you fell in love with health literacy. So what is health literacy?
So once I finally recognized or was told about the term of health literacy, is exactly the area of health education that I wanted to kind of focus on. So health literacy is at base someone's ability to understand their health problems, from their medications to their medical problems to their ability to navigate the health system. It encompasses everything regarding how someone accesses and utilizes the healthcare system and their health providers. So no matter what your formal education level is, whether it's elementary, middle school, high school, or beyond, everyone and anyone can have different levels of health literacy depending on their experience and their exposure to different stuff. And I really got interested in health literacy because, unfortunately, most communities have poor health literacy, that people feel like they know what's going on, but the health system is so complicated. There's so many different pieces to it. And it's constantly changing that even if you're good at one point, a few years from now, you could not be as great as you were previously because the health system is changing. And so I'm constantly striving to improve the health literacy of my patients as well as my community, because I want people to access healthcare appropriately, effectively, and just like be the healthiest version of themselves. And you need good health literacy in order to do that.
Wow. And I think it's amazing that you're giving back and educating the patients, because to your point, so many people think they know, they understand the old wise tale, right? Grandma did this, so we've always done it because grandma said go take an aspirin and take a nap, right? Well, maybe you don't need to take an aspirin if you got a headache and it's pounded. Take a nap. That might be the last nap, right? So reaching out to a provider, I think, is important, and the fact that you've made it your mission to talk about health literacy. Obviously, you're in Flint, Michigan. How did you get back to Flint, Michigan? Because Georgetown is far from Flint, right? So, and then you graduated from the University of Illinois. So, what was that journey like to come back to Flint, Michigan?
Yeah, so when I was looking at kind of medical schools and things like that, I was kind of full spectrum, just trying to get into a place that would give me a very thorough and full kind of rounded education. And so I ended up getting accepted at Georgetown. Kind of fell in love with DC from afar, as far as just the national capital, all the museums, all the kind of policy work, all the just like culture that comes from DC historically. And so I liked it from that piece. But once I was able to be a student at Georgetown, I knew that even though I was leaving Michigan, which I had been in forever, like I had done internships in different cities, but for most of my life had always been in Michigan, even undergrad at the University of Michigan. So going to Georgetown for medical school, I knew that, yeah, I was out here for a little bit, but I knew I wanted to go back to the Midwest. I knew I wanted to go back to Flint, Michigan specifically, because that's where my people were. That's where my community was. That's where most of my family was. And I really have a strong relationship with my family. And so coming from Georgetown, applying to residencies after medical school, which is how doctors get trained in their specialty, is through residency programs. I ended up going to Chicago. So I was in the Midwest. I wasn't quite in Michigan, but I was in the Midwest. There's an Amtrak train between Chicago and Flint, so that kind of stuff was really easy. And so I was at least in the Midwest, training at Chicago, getting a great training as a family medicine resident in Chicago. And all the people who I knew in Chicago when I went to residency knew I was going back to Michigan. They knew Dr. Harris was temporarily here, that her heart was in Michigan, specifically Flint, Michigan, and that she was going to absorb as much as she could from this Chicago training and her Chicago patients and community. But then she was going back to the mitten. And so that's what I did. After finishing residency in 2020, the pandemic wasn't the greatest time to necessarily find a job post-residency, but I did. I applied to only places in Michigan and was lucky enough to find a job in Flint, Michigan. And so I packed all my stuff, moved here, established myself, and started my formal kind of career post-residency as a family doctor.
Wow. I think that's amazing because I think so many people are moving out of Flint, Michigan. But what you said is, look, Flint is at the heart of me. This is what I live, breathe. This is how I bleed. And you moved back into the city of Flint, which I think is noble of you, because as I said, so many people are running away. What has been the reception from the community as you've moved back and opened up your own practice in Flint?
Yeah, so no, it's been great. At base, I spent almost a decade away from Flint, between undergrad and medical school and residency. I was gone for a while. And so the memories that I had from Flint were mainly from my K-12 years, my family and friends that I had then. And so coming back as an adult definitely was a different perspective. But Flint loves its people. It loves when we thrive. It loves when we have success. But it very much loves when we come back and utilize our resources and skills to help the city build more. Flint has had its setbacks, from GM situations to the water crisis, to his own problems with the COVID pandemic and stuff. And so we're used to people kind of having some barriers and challenges and having to leave. But we're also used to people coming back because their heart's in Flint and they want to be that resource and that advocate for their community and their people. And so when I came back, it's been a beautiful journey. People have been really excited to have someone from Flint be a family doctor, or just a doctor in general, in this city. We're still working on our pipeline work as far as having more health professionals come out of the city. But having someone from Flint and working in Flint and living in Flint is something that all of my patients in my community love. And I'm also like just living here. Like I go to things, I participate in stuff. I'm a resident here. I just happen to also be a family doctor taking care of some of the other residents here.
That's powerful because, like you said, you live here. This is your community. You're really embracing that community because as you know, sometimes providers are coming into underserved areas, but then they go back to Bloomfield Hills, they go back to the Novi, they go back
Mm-hmm.
to other areas where wherever that area is in their city or their state. So it's very interesting that, like you say, you live here, you see the disparities, and I think the residents of Flint are definitely lucky to
Mm-hmm.
have someone like you who is coming and sharing that knowledge with them. Um, from a perspective of you, from perspective of health literacy, do you find that maybe the Flint residents are suffering with different ailments that other you didn't see it in DC or Chicago, maybe related to the Flint water crisis, or just the lower income or African American populations or things?
Yeah, there definitely are some differences from caring for people in DC when I was a student to caring for people in Chicago when I was a resident. At base, a lot of the adult problems that I was addressing in those different cities are similar to the ones that I'm addressing in Flint, because I was also working with under-resourced, underserved populations and patients in general. But one of the biggest things that I've had to address and take care of as a family doctor here in Flint is the impact of the water crisis on our children's health, especially on the mental and psychiatric kind of concerns that come with being exposed to lead for an extended period of time. And so that's a long-term impact that I'm dealing with or trying to help with as my patients who have been here for a long time and have been exposed. But that's not just their medical impact of the lead crisis. It's also the educational impact and the financial and social terms of health impact that comes with not being able to access healthcare appropriately, not being able to maximize the educational system or your employment opportunities. All that plays a role in how our community builds and how it develops, because all those children who are impacted by the lead crisis are now aging. They're eventually going to be adults. They're eventually going to be adults trying to survive and work in our communities, and that's going to be a long-term impact that we're going to have to address as a community.
Wow, I think it's impactful because, as you stated, right, these people are now starting to age, and they will be
Mm-hmm.
adults, and they will need continuous care. And you mentioned sometimes people are not seeking care because of their health education, because of different financial situations. But what can you say to people who are afraid to go to the doctor, who are afraid because they just want to give me medications, they just want to do this? How can we encourage people to see a family doctor and for more, I'll add to it from a nurse perspective, stop utilizing the ED for their primary care needs and really adhere to a family doctor or provider?
Yeah, I'll say a few things with that. So, with the last comment you made about people going to the emergency room is a quick fix. Your primary health and the longevity of your health will be strengthened and managed by a primary care doctor. And so, finding someone that you trust, that you can discuss your different concerns with, is really important, because all because you don't feel something doesn't mean that there's not a problem going on. In that same context, we can do a lot of screenings based on your age and things, but if you don't talk to your doctor or health professional that's taking care of you, then they're not going to be able to address things and prevent things more long term that may be bothering you more immediately. As far as going to the doctor or kind of getting over that hesitation to find a doctor, I really encourage people to look around. You can shop around and find different health professionals that may meet your needs, whether it's their style, whether it's their protocols or approach to medicine, or just proximity to where you live. There are a lot of different people around that have diverse education base, but also are addressing different medical concerns that you really should be addressing yourself and not necessarily kind of skipping over and avoiding for multiple years. I really try not to have people wait till they're 60, 70, 80 years old to start finally maximizing the health system, because there are things that we should be controlling and preventing in your 20s, 30s, and 40s that really hope people are trying to speak up on and advocate for themselves about.
Wow, I think that's well said. And you mentioned the word diverse, so I'll take that into the next segment of this podcast. You know, you're African American, a native in Flint. what role does diversity, equity, inclusion play in healthcare and getting, maybe our counterparts, African American people, to come to the provider? Do you see it as a benefit for us as African Americans to get into the field of healthcare?
Yeah, so it's not a secret that healthcare is not the most diverse field. Unfortunately, a lot of the STEM fields are not very diverse, but we need people from different cultural and ethnic backgrounds to pursue diverse jobs and careers. So that way, that representation can make innovative and effective changes that can kind of move that career field up, but also when it comes to healthcare, impact and care for the community more effectively and sometimes even more powerfully because they're able to connect with that community or that patient a little bit more. As far as people in this community, we don't have a lot of African American providers, whether they're doctors or nurse practitioners or physician assistants. We definitely have a shortage around here, and that's something that some people are pursuing. But I will say there are different ways to connect to your doctor, even if they aren't purely the same kind of race or cultural background as you. That kind of thing does take time, but it's not impossible. On that other end, as far as diversifying the pipeline of those who pursue health careers, that is more of a long-term play and gain. But I do encourage people who are kind of interested in health and STEM to pursue it, even if you aren't seeing people who look like you, because representation, like I said, definitely matters. That's how I got to where I am, because I've seen people, and my first doctor wasn't until my first Black doctor wasn't until I went to medical school. So it wasn't even someone that was caring for me that I was like, I can relate to. It was the people around me who were my mentors and my network that were encouraging me to keep pursuing this, whether it was the engineering path or the medical path. It took a really long time to see people like me in those areas, but I knew where my passion was, and I know the greater impact of being able to be a minority or African American in a not so diverse field, but also being in that same position, but coming back home. That's one of the most powerful things of what I'm doing, is that I'm a Black doctor, I'm a Black female doctor, I'm working and living in a Black community, and a Flint doctor working and living in Flint. Those are things that some of my counterparts around here cannot say. That's something I'm really proud of, because I am a Flint resident first, and then I'm a Flint doctor that is a Flint resident.
I think it's powerful. Your statement, your speech, your voice is so powerful, and I think it's important to say that, we can talk all we want and say we should have this, we should do this, but without advocacy, it falls on deaf ears. And I think providers and you in general has really helped to shape the movement forward, right? We talk about the Black Family Doc platform you have and how you're advocating for us as patients, us as African Americans, and then for providers. So can you talk to us about your platform, the Black Family Doc platform?
Yeah, so I started that when I was in Chicago in residency. I've always been someone since medical school who's been just randomly and miscellaneously sharing different kind of health information and health tips, because the things that I was learning in medical school were exciting, especially the like technical things that I was learning on my end. I really enjoyed that piece. But on the other end, I wanted my family and friends to know some of the things that I was learning. Not necessarily all the like super details and technical stuff, but the base of like, you should be getting this screening, or this is something that, we should be watching out for. Please don't misread this and think that you're doing this when you should be doing that. All those little tidbits that I was learning, but also telling my patients as a medical student, I want to share with my community. It might have just been my small, just my friends and family community, but I wanted us to be healthier. And that was my initial goal. And so when I went to residency and just started learning more, that's all you do as a doctor, you just keep constantly learning. I started sharing more, and that sharing still became on my personal kind of social media platforms. But eventually I consolidated into Black Fam Doc. Because my brother was like, you keep doing all these random things. You really should kind of do it in one setting, so that way people can find it easier, but also you can build up on it. So he like started my website for me. And then after that in residency, I just like, oh, I could put this on this, I could put that on that. And Black Fam Doc was an intentional name to highlight that I'm a Black family doctor because there aren't many of us, but also to be at first glance, maybe for the Black community to be like, okay, is someone like us saying something to possibly help us? And so that's kind of how the Black Fam Doc platform came about. And from there, I just, things that I want to share and the different ways I want to deliver it, it's been kind of my umbrella space to do that and control it. And we have a kind of a problem with trusted resources, so I want to be a trusted resource. And so I've been building that for years. It's kind of my like outreach baby, and that's kind of how I do things in the community, but also just do things kind of personally for that outreach aspect.
We're not going to skip over that. Before I go to the next question, plug it. How do they find it?
So you can find Black Fam Doc at blkfamdoc.com. Right now, it goes to my harrisfamilyhealth.com outreach page because I, again, consolidate everything. But Black Fam Doc has a podcast. It has health information, newsletters. I have a book coming out about health careers because I really want to build this pipeline of people going into more health careers. But yeah, Black Fam Doc is a way for people to learn more about different health concerns, health disparities. I focus on Michigan and focus on Flint, but Michigan is not unique. Most of the problems that are going on in Michigan are going on across the country too.
Wow, I love it. You talked about advocating and you created that website, but how can healthcare providers and policymakers work together to eliminate health disparities and shorten health literacy issues that we have?
Yeah, so there definitely are a lot of different ways, and everyone has their different style. I'll say for doctors at base, working on our health education skills, a lot of the times I'm not actually talking in medical terms, and that was one of the things that I tried to start building when I was a student. That unless I'm talking to another doctor, I'm saying things in a more simple way because that's how it's going to get to my patients. And so that type of health education and counseling is very effective. And that's not something new, but that's something that we have to reiterate because things that I think I'm saying correctly or saying easily may not be as easily absorbed by my patients or my community. So taking that time to make sure that patients understand what you're saying is really important. Having them reiterated, knowing that you're going to have to possibly say it over again and not making patients feel bad for not understanding is really important as a doctor. When it comes to policy, one of the challenges with health policy in general is that everything impacts our health. And so it's really hard to always kind of narrow on one certain thing because the social determinants of health, the health disparities go with housing, go with education, go with food, go with work conditions, go with transportation, whatever it may be. I can tell you a way that is impacting someone's health. And so that broad kind of viewpoint and perspective is sometimes challenging when it comes to working with the health community and working with policymakers because so many things overlap. But I definitely encourage people who are working with more law and policy to include the health community because we know how things are implemented, how things impact our patients in our community. We know how it's going to impact how they're taking medications, impact their health problems that we might be diagnosing. And I wish more health professionals were asked to be at the table for these law and policy decisions instead of being the reactive piece when it causes an additional problem, when it makes people's problems flare up, when it makes it hard for them to access healthcare. I just wish we were at the table early on so that way we can give our 2 cents, give our experience, so that way these policy changes could do the big impact that they're meant to be, but also be considered the public health impact.
I think that line is great, right? Inviting us to the table so we can have a voice and a say. And what you're really talking about is cultural competence, right? Understanding how those decisions will impact the culture. And we're not talking about just African Americans, we're talking about the US as a whole. It's very easy to make a decision in a vacuum. But sitting at the table and having your thoughts challenged is sometimes hard for people. So to your point, I think healthcare providers, whether it's nurses, physical therapists, MDs, DOs, any and all types of healthcare providers should be at the table when these policies are being drafted and put into place because it impacts everything. And at the heart of it, what everybody needs is health insurance. So policies definitely impact health insurance, especially the Medicaid and Medicare system, which a lot of patients, a lot of people rely on. So when they don't have access to the Medicare and Medicaid systems, I'm sure you're seeing it. They don't go to the doctor. They don't seek care. They use that emergency room as their primary care, and then it just becomes another bill that they sit on the shelf next to the rest of them. So I think healthcare lawmakers have to have cultural competency, and I think that's going to bridge the gap in health disparities and improving health outcomes. But when we talk about health outcomes, it takes a pioneer such as yourself to disturb the market in better health outcomes, and I think you're doing that with your Harris Family Health. So, talk to us about your platform, because I don't believe your clinic is the typical clinic. Is that correct?
No. So the only thing typical about my clinic is that I'm a family doctor. And so like other family doctors, I see adults and children and in the head to toe problems. And so that's at base the most consistent thing that's in my clinic. But Harris Family Health is Flint's first direct primary care clinic. For those who don't know, direct primary care is a membership-based model of providing primary care services. So I don't bill or accept any health insurance. I provide primary care with less hassle by letting people have a direct relationship with their doctor that's stronger, more genuine, more timely, and provides that quality and comprehensive care that people want without the confusion and web of insurance and high bills and medical debt and all these other things that cause people to avoid the medical doctor or medical clinic in general. And so all of my patients, whether they have insurance or not, see me because of medical problems in general, but because of their membership-based kind of care. Whether it's adult or child, they all pay a monthly membership fee, and that encompasses all of my skills and my time with them and being able to be their primary care doctor and family doctor specifically. By not taking insurance, I'm actually able to provide longer appointments with people, no rushed appointments, and ultimately a lot more convenient care that helps my patients access their primary care needs and their acute care needs more effectively and immediately than kind of delaying it because of not being able to get in, not being able to pay for something, not being able to get some medication or lab work. I'm simplifying the process by providing this membership-based care that provides an alternative for people with or without insurance. So some of my patients don't have insurance, but most of my patients actually do have insurance and want a different experience. That way they're able to prioritize their health a lot better.
I said you're disturbing the market. You disturbing it, and I think it's for the better, right? You talk about something, right? Oftentimes, patients don't go to the doctor because what do they feel? The doctor's not listening to me. The visit is so short. They come in and they never looked up at me. They just said, take this. Didn't even tell them what they were prescribing. Didn't go over it. So it sounds like the way that you're running your clinic, you have that time to spend with the patients and educate them and improve the health literacy. Is that correct?
Yes, I have a lot of valuable time with my patients. I say all the time that any doctor can screen you based on your age, sex, whatever's kind of going on in your community, but we need time and trust in our relationship with patients in order to effectively address their concerns and prevent those bigger problems. And so with my style of clinic and Harris Family Health in general, I'm able to sit down with my patients and listen to them. I actually don't even have a computer in front of me when I talk to my patients. I just have a clipboard. I'm purely listening and jotting down like random kind of notes and stuff, but mostly it's face to face, and I love it because people are able to open up, they're able to get comfortable and really speak to me about their concerns. I know a lot of things about a lot of people that some of their family members and friends don't know, and I've enjoyed that aspect of my career because I'm able to help them navigate the health system better, help them improve their health, and actually I think of it as like a generational growth and legacy that I'm helping patients build by helping them be healthier. I want to be a resource and asset, and my clinic is allowing me to do that. But then on the other end, it's also allowing my patients to access healthcare they wouldn't actually have access previously, whether it's my convenient appointments that I'm able to provide patients, my discounted wholesale pricing that I'm able to provide patients, or just the ability for them to feel like they have a doctor in their corner. Because most people can't afford a lot of the things that they're trying to do with their medications or labs. without having some surprise bill or medical debt. And I'm decreasing that surprise, as well as providing some transparency to their medical experience, so people are able to feel a lot more comfortable when it comes to accessing their health care and just prioritizing their health overall.
Wow. For those just joining us, I'm on with Dr. Harris, a Flint native, board certified family medicine physician. Flint is at the core of how she practices medicine. And she has a clinic in Flint, Michigan that's serving the residents of Flint, Michigan. She lives in Flint, Michigan. I can't say Flint enough. She is a representative of the city of Flint. As we move forward in healthcare, where do you see healthcare going with, the current insurance issues that the country facing, but also technological issues that are coming out, such as AI and things like that? So I know it's kind of a twofold question. One, where's healthcare going based on insurance, the insurance model, but also based on technology advancements such as AI?
Yeah, so that definitely is a loaded question. I'll start with the more simpler, more traditional part of healthcare. One of the things that I think people are realizing now is how much they have to take responsibility for their health and their lifestyle choices. Because a lot of things that happen to people's health can be prevented if they make the right food and exercise, nutrition and exercise choices. And so I think with people's frustration with the rushed appointments, would not be able to get into the doctor as timely, and having to take additional medications because of that delayed medical care, I think people are going to take more responsibility for what they're putting in their body, and the contents and chemicals that come with that. That will be a whole different policy change that hopefully will come, because America's food is on the low end when it comes to healthy compared to other countries. But I think lifestyle medicine is definitely going to be a piece of it. I also think that one of the beauties of what I'm doing in direct primary care is people are able to feel empowered about who's being their doctor and how they're accessing that, by taking it away from their employer, taking it away from the government, and doing this membership-based model that has all these direct contracts and agreement that allows you to access healthcare without having to depend on health insurance like we've become in our society overall. So I think lifestyle medicine, as well as people becoming more in tune with these direct opportunities of health access, will be something that will blossom over the coming years, because we do need to take back more control of our life and our health in general. When it comes to AI and the technology aspect, that's still a little bit gray area for me. I know that it's helping people navigate the system a little bit better, as well as health professionals utilize the technology a lot better. But one of the things with the AI technology that is kind of concerning is how much it is accessing false information. And so that's my biggest concern with AI, is kind of, yeah, it can shoot out a paragraph about this and tell and speak on this topic, but is that information actually true? If it's utilizing the internet, we know that there are sectors of the internet that have false information in no matter what field you're talking about. And so AI will be impactful in getting people information a lot more easily. But we've always been information oversaturated for years now. And so it's just a different way to deliver it. But that false aspect is something I am concerned about. On the other end of AI, it actually is making healthcare access a lot more effective and efficient. And so when you think that you're waiting too long to see a doctor, maybe the AI would actually make whatever your doctor is doing as far as administrative work a lot easier. Maybe it'll make the scheduling process a lot easier. Maybe it'll make how you communicate with the health system overall a lot easier. And so that will help people get more valuable time in front of their doctor, instead of it being taken up by all these kind of processes and protocols.
It's interesting because my one of my degrees is in informatics, and we use the term AI now, but it's really a clinical decision unit, right? So for people who are watching this podcast, I can relate it to the fact of when you take your temperature and it's 100 degrees, and that temperature screen turns red because it's 100 degrees now. That's essentially artificial intelligence or clinical decision unit. So we've always had that level of technology there. It's just how we're utilizing it now. And so for the public, as I share, it's not something that we should be afraid of. I think it's something we should embrace. To your point, AI can help with help and provide a schedule better, more efficient, so they can spend more time with their patients. I think it's the key thing we should look at. As we draw this podcast to an end, you've dropped so many nuggets, and we're going to definitely have to have you back on. What would you like to leave us with? As a family provider who is serving the residents of Flint, but also just inspiring other people to be great, right? I'm sure you're inspiring people, and if you don't, I'm here to tell you, you're inspiring people. Just being on this podcast and sharing that, hey, somebody from Flint who got into STEM, right? Because we don't get into STEM, and I think you talked about it earlier, right? There's a lot of there's not as many scholarships as there should be for STEM, and then to bridge into medicine. So, what information can you leave us with to empower the viewers that's watching this episode?
Yeah, so there's so many things that I could touch on, but I'll say three things. So first, there is a path that I've taken in my career that I've made multiple pivots, whether it's from the engineering to the medicine to now the entrepreneur. And I really want people to feel encouraged and inspired to do what their gut is telling them, to pursue things that are not necessarily the most comfortable, because eventually your comfort zone will expand by you pursuing things that are more close to your heart versus what society is telling you to do. And that goes with minorities going into STEM, and that goes with other people just going into arts, going into literature, going to whatever it may be that you're trying to pursue that's more of a passion project versus the right and more, stable, secure kind of opportunity, because life is short and you really should be enjoying kind of what you're doing. On a medical standpoint, I think that everyone needs a doctor at base. You need to have a primary care doctor. If you're in Flint, you want me to be your doctor, I'm definitely available. But if you're in a different city, different state, please have a primary care doctor, because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. You never know what your family member is going to tell you that you need to go get checked up on. You should have someone in your corner that you trust, that you can talk to, that can help you prevent problems. Because if you're not here 10, 20, 30 years from now from something that you could have prevented today, your family and your friends are going to be sad that you aren't able to, blossom and pursue your kind of life calling. When it comes to the future of the health system, I really want patients in the community to feel more empowered to advocate for themselves. The health community, as far as doctors and nurses and technicians, we're saying a lot of things regarding our concerns for how the health system looks. I stepped out of it a little bit because of Harris Family Health, but I'm always a community advocate for Flint, for Michigan, for the health system in the United States overall. But the patients in the community are the strongest advocates for bigger and bigger changes. These frustrations that you're seeing, the delayed care, the expensiveness, the shortages that are happening, they're going to keep going on unless we yell louder and we yell at the right people. Policy and law changes can impact public health. They can impact your community health. They can impact your primary care experience, your surgery experience, your hospital experiences. But patients have the loudest voice, and they are the biggest advocates for bigger changes in the health system, which we need. Health providers like me are saying things, but we really need our patients and our community to advocate also with us, so that way we can help strengthen this health system, but also correct it for the mistakes and the mishaps that have continued to happen without any infrastructures to hold them back or stop them from making more mistakes.
Dr. Harris, you're a jewel. How can the people reach you? Obviously, we flashed it across the screen several times. If they didn't get the message, I got harrisfamilyhealth.com there. But how can they reach you? How can they contact your clinic? Maybe somebody's in Michigan. It's like, look, I'll drive to see that provider. They look like me. She speaks like me. She is me. How can they reach you?
Yeah, so for medical services in general, Harris Family Health is definitely the website to go to. I'm located in downtown Flint, and so you can call or email me through the contact information on that website. I'm also just available on LinkedIn and different social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram. And so if you have a question or you want to reach out to me, you can just find me at Dr. Asia Harris on all those kind of sites. But I'm always open to talk about health disparities, to connect people with different resources in my area, but also just advocate for better healthcare and healthcare access in our communities in general.
Thank you. I can't I can't say it enough. You were a blessing to have on the podcast. Um, it is needed to have you out here sharing your vision, sharing your message, because if we can motivate one patient to go see a doctor when they weren't going to go see a doctor, we've done our job. If we can motivate one person to go into STEM, whether it's medicine or engineering, we've done our job, and that's the purpose of this platform. So thank you, Dr. Harris,
No, thank you for having me.
and thank you to everyone for joining us here on Common Ground with SMK Medical. We hope that our discussion with Dr. Harris and other experts brings valuable insights into the pressing issues facing our industry today. We will continue to strive to create a safe space for meaningful conversations on healthcare, and we look forward to bringing you more informative and engaging episodes. Stay informed, stay engaged, and stay connected with Common Ground with SMK Medical. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like and share all of our social media pages. You can follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube at SMK Medical. You can follow me at Your Healthcare Consultant on Instagram and TikTok for more healthcare related content. Thank you. I hope you have a great day.